Kevin?
Yeah. So there's work to do to kind of get clear in our own minds about.
Tino.
Do they not know they're on?
Yeah, he's just muted. I think it's on the phone.
Kia ora.
Kia ora koutou, ka mihi mahana ki a koutou e tēnei ko, nau mai karo mai, tēnei kōrero mō te Māori Standing Committee. Muri ora, karakia te timatanga, koutou, tūkua, te wairua, kia re, i ngā taumata, hai araki i a tātou mahi, e tātou i ngā tikanga, kia mau, kia ita, kia kore, mai aroa, kia pupuri, kia whakamaua, kia tina, uie, tai. Apologies from Julie and apologies from Suzanne. Moving tonight. And Gillies is going to be a little bit late tonight. Good evening to the kids. Welcome to you. And you'll hear speaking for home time. Tēnā koutou. This meeting will be recorded and subject to the recording being of suitable quality will be made available on Council's YouTube channel via a link on Council's website. Health and safety, the emergency exits for the supper room are clearly indicated. If we need to evacuate the building, use only the emergency exits and head towards Texas Street and assemble at the playground area. Please remain at the assembly area until the building has been confirmed clear. Extraordinary business. Tino, would you still like to address the committee this evening on participation in the Māori Standing Committee? Aye. Okay, this will be added as a member report under agenda item 9.1. Separate item 9.1. Apologies. Okay, GP and via Suzanne. So I move the apologies. GP and Suzanne. Do I have someone to move the apologies?
I'll second.
Karen, do I have a seconder? Kia ora. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. All those against, please say aye. The motion is carried. Conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest to declare? Does anyone have any acknowledgements or tributes they would like to make? Yes, Suzanne Murphy's mum.
Could we send her some?
Yeah.
Aye. And I'd just like to acknowledge the passing of Jenny Murray, Hunt. So she was the first Pohanga Reo teacher at Hauriki Marae, and always had a lot to do with the children. So yeah.
So this evening we have no public speakers confirmed, so we'll move on to the minutes. Are there any corrections needed to the Māori Standing Committee meeting on the 30th of April or the 4th of May? Do I have a mover that the minutes of the Māori Standing Committee meetings held on the 30th of April and 4th of May are true and correct record? Right. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favour, please say aye. All those against, please say no. The motion is carried. Officers' report. We will now move to item 6.1. officers report.
So the two officers' reports, one from Planning and Regulatory Manager and one from our partnerships and operations. One in place with the partners and operations is just the update on the school Kuranui. We're getting really close to having that finalised. It's a wonderful thing for South Wairakere and Cast as a school that services both areas. This committee, this council decides to support us. So we end up expanding this school. Finding it sometime that this will happen. Allows, which means it's a better facility for young people, but also means it's available for Rangatani and people in South Wairakere particularly. For community
Okay.
services. Rangatani, sorry. Yeah. Just, yeah, it's just important. Happy to answer any questions people have.
Good questions?
No.
Innovating streets.
Yes, for concept designs, I think it's free. Yeah. And they're out for a vote. So I want to thank Leader for arranging the designers to be involved in the design. That's a really cool topic.
Yeah, well, we did try to do that, didn't we, Tony? To have students that were working with Montana to go into Hawariki to have a look at the pattern, talk to the panel, look at the pattern, and the kids have actually taken the inspiration more from whenua and environmental and fish species. There's a little clue there. So there's 3 designs that have come through, and I'm one of the judges. So,
It's something we, it's just an innovation, which I thought was fantastic.
we've only got one.
That's just the closure. That's at that time that was come out, literally come out in that today.
Are they on the website? They would have probably announced them. Oh, what is it? We'll see if it's going on this.
So
Whether after-
Have you found a site for the Greytown recycling?
Centre yet, that I don't know, it was challenged by one of the heritage groups, the location. So we're just going back to clarify what the concerns are.
The recycling receptacles.
Yeah.
Okay, report. Do I remember to accept the report, the officer's report? Can I ask one question? When is it planned that the eco brief?
Yeah. It's a good one.
Because it's looking pretty dire out there. We've got cold and that's.
No, again, sorry, but I just don't know exactly what this is to be. We're going through the resource consent and trying to sort out the location issues.
I think it's down to 2 locations. I did have a quick chat with them on that. I think the last regional council discussions have been, so we're looking relatively close. But obviously the sooner we can do it, the better to preserve a lot of the sites up from the shore. Yeah, but all the concrete, and I noticed all as well, has been put on site ready for use, so it must be very close.
It's good to see that project.
Yeah.
Except words, it's a trial.
So we'll move to accept the report. Thanks, Amy. And a seconder, please. Aye. Karen, all those in favour, please say aye. All those against, please say no. Motion is carried. Action items report, pages 45 to 48. Cleaning this one up. So, we have a mover to receive the actions item report. Hold it. Yeah, do I have a seconder? All those in favour, please say aye. All those against, please say poll. So item 178, that one is closed because we moved that on to the long-term plan. What's the? Is that all from it? Is opening up that space?
Remember that was the
That's
discussion around the ownership was with as part of the deed of
That's
settlement. And so we had to go and find out who the owner was. And so, yeah,
It's
long
part
story
of,
short, so we need to go and
To
talk.
my eyes, like they've noted that as one of these sites, significant sites. So we were wondering about opening that back up for public access to be able to get to the water on Western Lake Road.
That needs to be negotiated with the Tumaira board.
And there was discussion, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not something we do of our own blush.
It's probably not to do with council either, but Greater Wellington, so it's another whole discussion, but anyway, not on the Māori standing committee. No, process.
Was that seeking access to that site?
Yeah, well, the significant sites group started looking at our areas around Warapuana. Karen can probably speak to it more than me. But Orpanga was definitely one of those sites that would give us access back to the water, which we don't necessarily have on the western side of Warapuana. Do you want to say anything else to that?
There's a paper road that goes directly from Pigeons Bush right down to the water, so we just wondering if we use that as an access.
Yeah, I think it would need to go back to them, because it's part of the settlement process, so that'd be part of their significant sites as well. So it goes back to Tumaira. Unfortunately, I'm not the person to talk to.
So what could be an action for us out of that? I mean, maybe just write to Wada and say that you'd be interested as significant sites group from the Māori Standing Committee. Maybe a suggestion.
Or just that, I think just that, you know, there are limited sites, and we get a balance with both. Most of them, so that's the reason.
Would you like to do that for us, Karen? Okay, we're on to, we parked item 4 on 253, but we can close that one off now because we have incorporated Ngātahi representative, we use representative in our terms of reference. That one's gone. Open 254, Aoraki Bound program. Again, I think we just want to like almost placeholder that one, don't we? Because at some point there might be an opportunity for us to work with that.
Was that more waiting for inbound, so it's just sitting there until someone expresses an interest? Is there a campaign around visibility? Is it visible anywhere?
Well, it's just that one of our Ngātahi and stuff, whatever, she did it about 2 years ago, and it was just a fabulous presentation. And I think Alex, you spoke to being in support of a program like that for Ngātahi. So I think I just wanted to have a little placeholder for that, something in the future that the stars start to align.
Could a link to that be put on the council website?
Yeah, so that can see the Aoraki Bound program.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there's no visibility, like no one knows about it.
If we possibly do that, not only with the Māori standing, but also with the Middle Taskforce for Jobs, because there is a funding option there. If the rangatahi was actually unemployed, it could be part of their whole training.
Yeah.
So
Cool, good plan.
550, whatever water on. Okay, you're going to scratch that.
Yep.
Because tried to get discussion for South Wairarapa Māori with the developers, and when we finally got a date and a location, pretty much told not to do it.
Really? Sure.
And yeah. Just don't like us doing it.
Look, I'll follow that up. Do you still want to get that briefing?
I mean, I'm certainly interested. I mean, I think we all expressed an interest in it.
Yeah, we did.
I don't kind of know where that directive came from, but it's important. It's an important issue, isn't it?
Well, everyone wants to talk about it.
Yeah, so
So
yes,
the opportunities to have a cordial is good.
yeah, so I don't know what we should be
So
sorting.
I'm happy to follow that. And find out what happened. It's not like being to cancelled.
No, it wasn't being that cancelled. I was told students not to go ahead with it. I've been misinforming Māori and South Wairarapa of Haiti more high. with the venue Māori Standing Committee. They just fell into the hard box and it was not exposing us for criticism that was unwarranted, so I just didn't want to do that. Te Paiti Mokai, literally only 4 or 5 people, and this committee who's doing so well at this stage. That's what the background was, just to open us up for criticism.
So what is the outcome then? Are you wanting to, is it wanting to be held somewhere else? Like what was the,
It was held,
is that what the,
it was held in Carterton on the same day and time,
Ah,
but not under South Wairarapa, Māori, being able to have a discussion with the project people.
So my only question would be in terms of our, like, because they extended an invitation to us, didn't they? Or to the wider community?
Yep, I sent out the email.
Yep, so did we go back and say, I don't know why we couldn't attend, but we would like to revisit or no? Like what's the,
You just emailed them and asked them to cancel that.
The Waka people, I got rung Rob to say that we would not be hosting it in South Wairarapa, not having that discussion with them, but it's going to be done in a different forum. It's done at Carlton Event Centre. It was a very, very different forum though, because I was trying to create a space where we could have just across the table conversation about the project and get an understanding. But instead it ended up being, I don't know, a discussion with environmentalists and a whole different type of discussion. Where I would have preferred the discussion that you had with Doc and the Waka, which was about the engineering and about the environmental stuff that they were aware of and how they were going to mitigate what they might be down here. That's what I wanted to do. But unfortunately, just
Well, does it, I still think that create an opportunity.
I think we should at least explore it and see if it's still available.
I think Waka project team would be down like a shot,
Okay, well,
but yeah. But who's going to lead it?
but what were the concerns about wanting it stopped first? Because I don't want to say yes to something if there's
don't
concerns about,
have the context.
yeah.
It was about that we wouldn't have been giving Māori and South Wairarapa the full story, would have been giving them one story and they would have been misinformed is what the accusation was.
So I'm so sorry, Madam Chair, I'm just trying to understand. Are you saying that it's because, so the concern is that we would only be hearing from the people who are advocating for the stamp?
Yeah.
Is that really what the concern is? Because then possibly it could be looked at to have people from both sides. Then I think we need to broaden it if that's a concern for Māori, yeah, so.
But yeah, and I suppose the other thing is that there's a whole resilience committee happening up in Marsden that are supposed to be advocating on our behalf anyway for the pros and cons of it. Would that be fair to say?
I suppose it's also that Tangata Whenua, I feel, should be leading this out, because this is actually whakapapa as well. Having an opportunity to have both sides presented quite evenly would be a better argument for, getting the information rather than just having one. I mean, Wakamoeko and having the people developing the project, only them, isn't actually giving a more diverse sort of outlook onto what the project means for other people as well. And I'm not just talking about Māori, I'm talking about the whole community as a whole, and having the opportunity to get an even sort of playing field or opportunity to speak would be ideal.
Yeah.
So some more open, like a more open forum
Exactly.
with, yeah,
Yeah, the pros and cons, so you go.
So- yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
So
what I'm
that's
hearing.
just all.
Because I think that's probably what was looked at before, was because they, it was actually quite probably one-sided, at face value.
But what do we mean? I'm just not clear what we mean by one side.
So the project leads for the water store, for the water storage project, we're going to be the ones that presented to the community, as opposed to actually having other people with their science as well, present to give an argument, and also from a Tangata Whenua perspective as well.
So like a panel discussion, but like you see when you have various viewpoints and everyone gets that opportunity to.
To hear everything.
That's not what was.
That's not what it was, okay. Yeah, because I take the view that, you know, most of us should be able to go into a situation and assess whether you're able to make an informed decision, and if you can't, based on whatever happens, then you decide that then. But ideally, yeah, we should have a forum where there's an opportunity to express a range of views. The question is, how wide do we want to go? Because that, you know, there's lots of different forums. I mean, it's a bit like the spatial plan, the long-term plan, you had engagement with different groups. And ultimately, isn't it, we just want some information. We're going to go, presumably, I've got some questions. And then, you know, there'll be feedback around that. So I guess my question is, there's been a meeting before that obviously happened. Is that right? There was one in Carterton that happened.
Yeah.
And that forum, how would we describe the participation there? Was it the,
I didn't go to it.
yeah,
But was it good?
did you guys go to that one? And so who was representing, who was there?
So you had the scientists, because that was the science of water. It didn't actually come from a tangata whenua perspective. It was actually around the science and the economics.
Okay.
And it had Wakamwiko, that team present. So Robin Wells presented, and then there was the other three presenters around the sciences, and giving the economic impacts as well.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yes.
and it was good. But, you know, the crowd that attended was quite diverse too. So it wasn't about a tangata whenua perspective.
It was actually a community.
Yeah. And I will say that, you know, maybe that's the perspective that this committee should be looking at as well.
I just wonder
Community, I
why
think.
we should have been excluded from that, because to me, if we're getting signals to say we're not welcome, that's actually not in the spirit of what you've just described. So that's unfortunate. But
There wasn't that.
That's
What I heard. I just heard that what we had organised, or Pāti had organised.
Literally just the venue, because we're the only venue open.
Yeah.
As a venue.
So they're hosting an opportunity.
Yeah.
But
But
Didn't
just
have
just for the people from the
give the
dam.
other, you know, it didn't give another opportunity.
But there's so Cecil Raiharia on the phone, you're assuming that we're all stupid as well. I mean, we can sit in front of a panel of experts talking about a project and still assess that. We're not stupid around this table. So I said that to Raiharia several times, but he was quite determined that it was the wrong thing for us to do as a committee. And I just felt like, in terms of protecting Māori standing community and Pāti Mōkai, it wasn't worth it.
So I think there's two things at play. So the first is the meeting in Carson was not just about the dam. There was a number of, there were about 4 topics, weren't there? And they were about water generally, reforms, those types. They weren't specifically there to talk about the dam.
right, okay.
So it's a
broad.
and it certainly wasn't. It certainly wasn't like a mini hearings panel. So here's the pros and cons of the dam. It was just a broad discussion. It was hosted by 3 months, I think.
Oh, that was a couple of weeks
Is that the earlier one?
Oh, that was an earlier meeting.
Okay, so there's that one. So there's this one. Strategy.
No, it was actually supported by REAP. So this is another thing. It was not supported by any Māori rōpū at all. This was supported by REAP solely to ensure that there was a more informative forum that could give information, and it was open to all the community, and it did not exclude any Māori standing committee members at all. This is not the, you know, that particular one, the science of water, did not exclude anybody. It invited the whole community, you know, affected. So that is what that Carterton one was. The both of them actually. The Green Party supported the first one, and REP House supported the last one. So I just want to give some perspective on this. This wasn't led by any Māori local rōpū or iwi initiative. It was purely supported by community.
So I guess we just need to
And so
decide.
was ours. Ours was just for community in South Waitangi.
So I guess, yeah, the question is whether we think it's worthwhile having already, there's been a number of meetings. Maybe we could get some of the information that came out of that meeting and we can assess it ourselves to see whether it's worthwhile having another meeting. Because if there was, presumably there was stuff coming out of that meeting.
Yeah, there's lots.
And so if that could react.
I know the Green Party, I did not attend the Green Party one, but I heard that one was quite well attended too by all the community from even South Waitangi too. So they got the opportunity to ask some
So has there been an opportunity for South Waikato to have this kind of
We just take your guidance on this. I mean, the technical problems of the dam. So the big superset of this is the water resilience strategy. I mean, that's the big problem coming at us, which is evaporation, what that means for our natural environment, and shortage of water. And that's a huge piece of work. And that was presented to council last week.
Last week, yeah.
Last week, and that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Of which, right, buried in the bottom of that is that storage of water is one option to consider. Okay? It's not the option to deal with water resilience for the whole way around for the next 100 years. So that, you know, so there's a really important thing to get your head over around is that water resilience strategy. And we'd be really happy to arrange, and that's not content, but it's well supported by both England.
No. So Rangitani have a position statement that they are putting towards the water resilience strategy.
Okay.
Kahungunu, they've presumably put forward their
rounds and
context, so they'll put their part in there. But with Rangitani, we're doing a position
Okay.
as part of this water resilience strategy.
So there's lots of movement that's going on. But the dam itself isn't a consent process. So ultimately, people do have to understand what the nature of the consent that's being applied for, what the effects are from both a biophysical and also cultural perspective. There's been a cultural impact assessment commissions as part of that.
Yeah, so we're in negotiations with Water Wairarapa Limited regarding that, but I also just want to probably bring to point that councils are signing a MOU. I know that would have come across your father's table at that time, maybe last week, to endorse the Water Wairarapa Limited project. That's not, it is kind of concerning, but, it might be that there probably needs to be a bit more information put out about what that looks like for council's responsibility and the impacts on the ratepayers. Yeah, I mean, we've certainly, I'm the Master of District Council, and that's where that's come across. So I know that this is information that would have been made public anyway around the MOU.
We have, as a council, remained very neutral. But if you were able to get the information for the standing committee to have a stance, it would be very useful for council to have that, so that you can guide us on where you feel we should be going on this. So, when we are making a decision based on information at council, much like the standing committee, having someone come to talk to you and then having someone else come to talk to you, looking at different views, is still a good way of gathering information.
And this fell out of the LTP process. So Water Wairarapa Limited, they submitted their submission, and then they put, as part of that hearing process, they wanted an MOU with all three councils. It's public, it's in the public reader, and they provided the MOU alongside that, along with suggestions for funding from the various councils as well. So I think that's probably an important piece going into wanting to find out more information, and
and the funding that they've requested from us is a small amount to contribute to the resource consent process. To people understanding what the resource consent process actually is an important part of that equation.
I think it seems useful. I mean, we've spent a bit of time on it tonight to actually have that opportunity provided to have that core level in a workshop kind of a forum, like you had originally organised, and to actually look at the broader issue of water resiliency.
I think that's because that's the context. You've got the water resilience issue, of which there are many. This is a 100-year view of problem having. There's many solutions in that proposed, and they all require commitment by many parties to do various things. And most of the commitment is from the regional council. It's not a local authority. There's bits of the local authority. It's largely Greater Waikato Regional Council. And so there's a huge range of options, of which one tiny part is the dam as a water storage option. There's a whole lot of other water storage options to do with ponds, with tanks and all sorts of things. So
Harry, is the MOU around the dam or is it around the whole water resilience strategy?
the MOU is about the dam.
Okay, so that might be,
That's
that's
why
why it's a concern.
That's why I would like them to be informed about the MOU that councils have been asked to sign up to. And that's an elected member decision, so. But your influence could be utilised and your proposal. What's really important here is that the three councils supported even by G Dub. If this goes ahead with the MOU, it also informs Water Wairarapa Limited to get onto the regional plan, which will in some way be influencing the resource consents process. So you need to ensure that you know this.
Which again is really important, why you need to actually understand what the nature of consent is and what it's. And so we want to have a discussion. I hadn't realised that the workshop had been canned.
Yeah.
So we're in a difficult situation when we
Yeah,
asked
that's
to make
an
a comment on something we actually have to be informed about. So, I mean, it's totally in your hands. My suggestion, advice, you need to get those two pieces of advice, otherwise how do you make that decision? How do you let us know what your views are?
Yeah, I just think we just push back if anyone's got any issues and we shouldn't be directed not to do something.
No, but I quite like the idea of having a panel, like having, I think we need, it needs to be, it needs to be put across fairly and not, I can see why just with just the people who are literally there to in support of the dam and because that's what they do. And this is about that, that's
I
one.
think we're all, not smart people, and also to get people, those are engineers, it can be any project, they're still engineers, and so that's what the information would be. They could turn their head to anything and still engineer the schnozzles out.
Can I just come in here? One part of this whole situation is that we have asked that we have our own cultural engineers come in. And we haven't been able to achieve that because they have someone that have already got working with them.
Is that Enya?
That's Enya. And he, to us, is just not the person that's been speaking on behalf of the people. He's speaking on behalf of what the water is going to really mean to those who need it. And those are not being shown to us. Are they the farmers or are they the surrounding areas? Is it even going to reach down this far?
Totally, yeah.
All
We need
of
to know
this is still a question.
I mean, the benefit analysis, that whole impact is totally.
We asked to have
But it's biased. If you don't have other presenters that can present another perspective. I'm all for a panel and for kōrero, but it needs to be evenly balanced. Yeah, I think that's probably.
I don't think we disagree with that at all.
No.
Yeah.
James, what do you think the chances of having a walk around the project like you guys do?
Oh, they'll be open to anything. But actually what I'd like to propose or move is that we organise an evening, an opportunity to have a panel discussion that's open to our community here in South Wairarapa. And so I'd like to move that be organised.
Yeah. I'll second that. I'll second that.
Anyone's able to want to host that?
Can we host it here?
That's over for the community.
Totally. If I can,
Andrew, are you talking about, when you're talking about that community, you're talking about anyone who wants to?
Anyone can come,
Yeah.
because it's what it
Just
is.
open, but
can I suggest that the Māori Standing Committee hosts it, actually organises it?
yeah, we can do.
I think that's a good for you, from an outward facing to the public, saying we are concerned and we need more information.
Well, why can't we have both council and the Māori Standing Committee
Totally, yep.
come together?
Oh, no, we'll be there, definitely.
Yeah, because you need that kind of situation where people will be quite happy to stand up and maybe they direct their questions to you guys.
Yeah. What's timeframes? Do we have?
Sooner rather than.
Yeah, it
later.
feels
This is
like we've
moving
lost
pace. I
time.
don't want to, I take council and MOU giving an indication to council, from councillors and council without having your input into that.
Still, I should see the MOU just to see what they're already proposing.
I haven't seen it yet either.
Yeah, yeah.
I would even ignore that.
Very, very draft. I was hoping we might get that workshop, so we'll actually talk about that. In terms of the MOU, just to be very clear, so there's that their request is predominantly to Marston and Custom. So they want, essentially, they need to have the certainty of municipal supply from the storage facility. And we've been always very, very clear that we do not see this facility as a municipal.
Then why are they asking for an MOU from South Waitanapa
So we've
the
got
council?
for economy and for if the water can be transferred in an environmentally friendly way down the river system at times of low flow and increase the amount of water inside the river system at times of low flow, and that is environmental benefit. And we support that for our community. We've always said that. So we're not for our supply, it's about, and that's what the MOU actually says. So we're almost build support for the others. I'm actually happy to circulate the draft.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
But again,
Because the council's seen it.
when people are debating the form of something, we actually haven't heard about what it is they're actually debating about. So I think we should, I'm happy to
Circulate the
I'm
MOU.
secret
Thank you.
draft, council has enforced it, initiate form,
That'll be helpful.
and but you do need to actually understand what the nature of the proposal is. I just, you know,
But should we create a new action for this one?
Maybe, you know, as a suggestion too, is to ask iwi to be a part of that panel.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I mean, this
About
is,
four iwi entities, the minor as well as the.
Or you got Rara doing a cultural.
and Rangitani or Wairarapa will be doing the CIA form as part of it as well. But, you know, we're going through that negotiation. It's not like we haven't done any work towards this. So it's, I'm just trying to provide some context here. You'll get the, you know, Wairarapa Water Limited and their perspective. I'm trying to provide an EU perspective, which will also be helpful. That's for
So Rara's doing independent cultural. Master.
cultural impact assessment.
Assessment for no Waitanapa water.
Oh,
Really? That's
was
what
he
I'm
contracted by them?
saying. That's what I'm
So
saying.
then he's not independent. Okay. So that's what you
It's neutral, that's what he tells us, he said it's neutral in regard to.
Which is fine, it happens, so we just manage that, so we obviously get someone else who's got a perspective, right?
Right, I mean, it's not just been Kaungunu Wairarapa, even though they form the CIA, you've also got the PSGEs that are involved in this. And this has come out of, remember, Water Wairarapa Limited has been supported by the WEDS group, so, and they are, and here we are, those PSGEs are a part of the government.
Cool.
Can I just say that Rangitani has already supplied a CIA to the water resilience, and it was ignored, turned down.
It was ignored.
It was looked at and they said, no, we can't. We asked them that if we're going to be part of it, that they should be allowing us to get our own personal scientists out there, and that we would also do a CIA report for them, report. And it was given to the resilience board, and they just totally said no. Cultural impact assessment.
What was the reason they gave?
It was our personally made report from Rangitani.
No, so we didn't.
So it's not a CIA.
So what we did, so I'm the deputy chair at Rangitani or Wairarapa Park. We're working on this project for 18 months. So we submitted to them a cultural impact assessment proposal, of which we knew that their scientific information had not been independently peer reviewed. They can say that it is peer reviewed, but it's not independent. We, within our proposal, actually asked for independent scientific a team to be put together, focusing on our kaupapa, our outcome that we wanted for our whānau hapu and iwi. On top of that, we also put in a proposal for our Mātauranga Māori team to be stood up to look at this from our perspective, from our whakapapa, our stories, to not only just Akura whānau and Ngāti Moi and Ngāti Kamoa, which are some of the hapu that are up there, but to also look at the full impacts to the Wairarapa, because it's not just going to impact up there, it will be to Moana, to everywhere. They have adamantly said that they will not fund that, and they refuse to fund our cultural impact assessment. So that's where we're at.
Okay.
They have instead offered us co-governance and partnership opportunities, to which we have declined, because we said we cannot partner with anything that we don't know the detrimental impacts to our environment, our other.
We can't make a decision based on, we can't make a decision to support a project when we've not been given the opportunity to complete a cultural impact assessment, and that's where we're at. Yeah. So I think that'll give us some context on where we're at currently.
And to let you know about the hui, because I was one of the team that actually helped organise it, and my understanding was Reihania had talked to Narita about the fact that probably tangata whenua need to lead it. In terms of that, we ended up in Carterton because we actually wanted to bring it down south, but because we had over 100 people potentially attending, that is why we got the Carterton Event Centre, and they gave it to us at a discount. So that's the only reason why we had it there. Reihania said, however, wanting all of the South Wairarapa to come and to extend it to this whānau, so that's why we had sent through the poster as well.
So having another one's a good thing then.
As long as you're making sure that there is a balance there. Because these people are up there selling stuff, and we had Dr. Mike Joy, we had Peter Fraser, who's already debated all the economics, and I can send that information through if you want that. But basically, you know, this is not a viable product, and the only people who will pay are the ratepayers from what we can see. So we're not only, it's not detrimental to just our whānau, but the whole community.
Yeah, couple.
And Rawari, my understanding, he put forward and he did his cultural impact assessment as kahamari.
Yeah.
So he wasn't, so they would have done something similar where they would have put through a proposal and they would have been given money as part of the project, because that's what you're meant to do for cultural impact assessments as a.
Yeah. So yeah, it would be beneficial to have an iwi perspective on them.
Yeah.
Couple.
And so what do you think about?
So by the end of the month?
But to organise it.
Yeah, we'll do our best.
Yeah, we're getting on the,
Yep.
We're getting on July the latest.
Depends,
probably.
yeah.
I think so.
And Tina. I was just wondering if I can liaise with you, just to get some information.
Yeah, I can provide some information. I don't know what my time's like. Sorry, folks, on
That's quiet, but
Monday, the county yell.
you already done it, you fellas.
Moving on, 655. So this is around nominees to the interest of tangata whenua on the Constantine.
Yeah, Aroha Mai, I haven't progressed that actually.
Yeah, halfway.
It's probably in terms of priority.
Next.
I don't know, I kind of just, sorry, this is me being representation on that. It just doesn't feel, if we think about all the other mahi we're doing and we're time poor, is this something that we should be spending a lot of our time on? I kind of think, yeah, but anyway, our chair's on the call, so, but I just haven't had a chance to raise it at our meeting.
Okay.
But I guess aside from that, is you know, this is the park.
Yeah.
When it was a request, is it something that we say?
I think just raise it, you know, it's to be raised, it's for Martinborough, it's the Constantine Park user group, they're wanting, they're reaching out to say, we'd love to have someone from tangata whenua, you can take it back, and then, you know, and if you're unable to do it, then you're unable to do it, but I think it still needs to be raised because they've asked.
Yeah. I think the main point was the terms of reference is unpaid, you know, it's all that kind of people's time.
Yeah, it's a volunteer.
Yeah.
Volunteer.
But it doesn't have to be someone from here.
Just so that at this stage, our incapacity.
Well, there's going to be a meeting for Haere Ki Marae
Tomorrow
anyway,
night.
so that can be raised there, it can be asked. If
Yeah.
anyone, you know, and then we'll know.
added to your things to talk about. So item 36, engaging well, undertake cultural audit. So Karen is away sick at the moment, is it right, or away on leave? And she, last time we asked her the other day, didn't we, and she
Yes.
said that she's waiting to hear back from.
She said she'd reached out and spoken to him, but there was, or that was how it came across, but there wasn't actually that confirmation that she had spoken to him. So I think maybe we really need to push this because this has been left and left and left, and it was put forward in February and missed. An opportunity was missed. In fact, it was last year, wasn't it? It was last year. So an opportunity has been missed, and this really, really needs to be pushed.
Some sort of timeline for him, because I'd like to see some of the money begun and
Yes.
placed by
Yes.
our public alignment,
Mm.
you know, by phase one. So I'd like to see that in place first, and stuff happening, and then the audit to happen line alongside. Great.
Yeah.
So when it's back to Karen, 37 is action.
Well, Harry, are you happy to take that up? Just, yeah, that'd be great.
It's a
We just-
priority.
It really is a priority now.
That's right. We'll follow with Karen. 104, it's been actioned.
Oh, this is nice. It's very good.
106. 108 and 129, that's been done. Right. Income expenditure report, item 6.3, pages 49 to 53.
I have my name.
Andrew, did you say you had something to add to that?
I just want to know how we're gonna plan to spend our budget. Yes, when's our financial year finish?
30th of June, we can carry it forward.
That's something that this committee has been going year on year though.
So we really wanted to nail it this year.
So since the new financial starts next month, it would be really good to have dedicated time to be able to talk about, well, how do we get this money out the door and for the purposes which it's proposed for. So that, you know, there's not very much that's been spent to date under the full PO. Still got quite significant balances remaining. Yeah, so that I'll just, that's Carl maybe.
Yeah, so Andrew and I talked about doing a strategy workshop for the committee, and this would be one of the things that we looked at, and we looked at each PO, and is it a case of committee members on a PO like a portfolio and driving the kaupapa within them and looking at their expenditure and getting these things done? Is that another way we can get things done? You know, where they see new activities that could be included in each PO. Is that something we want to discuss? I think we do need to have a strategy going forward. How does that sound to everyone?
I know, I totally agree. I think the challenge we have, and it's just a challenge of people are time poor and every working. So yeah, I think it's a good suggestion, but people almost need to have done some prep.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not obvious. So, you know, so if we allocate per PO or at least sound out, you know, so looking at the different PO, it's about engage. It's the same as it's a bigger picture of the Aoraki bound, right? It's like we've got some putia. You need to engage you've either got a pipeline of people who know about it and then are going to put them in the applications, or you go out and engage. Yeah. And I think it feels like at the moment we don't have a lot of visibility of anything because we're not really sharing that corridor. So maybe the first part is around that engagement strategy and how we do that, and then maybe we allocate it. I wonder if we start with
we start with strategy.
We start with the strategy, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's what's going to take us, that we're going to have to try and have some time on a weekend, spend together, Whānau, and sort of nut out a strategy, and we look at our PO, and look at how we go forward. How's that sound? Yeah.
Always weekends.
Yeah.
Okay.
So long as we get some food.
Yeah, $100 a head.
Okay, well, we'll put that in as an action.
Are you talking about a strategy to spend the remainder of this, or are you talking about a strategy for next year's budget?
It's probably both. There's a more immediate one and then there's a longer term one.
Bigger picture.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Tune this into.
exactly. I think that makes sense.
What else did you saying other things too in our strategy?
Oh, well, you know, like we should do a year in review first.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is well, I'm only coming up to a year on this committee, but just review, you know, like from where we've come from over the past year to then where we want to go to next.
Yeah, especially for us new people,
Yeah.
myself and Michelle haven't got that context.
Yeah.
You're right, so.
And nor have I. I've only been on since October, but I don't have that either. So it's a good.
So you've got a really new committee, like a full committee.
I feel like, you know, we've only really begun about a year and a bit ago.
Yeah.
I think we only really just got stuck into my head a year and a bit ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got heaps of opportunity in front of us. So, an action around that, scheduling in a strategy one. We might put a date on that.
Just early in the new financial year.
Earlier than, sorry? Or when it's.
New financial year.
Just try all this.
Just pluck it up.
Okay, so that section around that, we'll try and schedule a strategy one in August for the committee. Anything else there, please? As I'll move to accept the income and expenditure statement, period of 1st of July 2020 to 30 April 2021. Someone move it, please. Or a clip, seconded, please. Karen, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say cold. Motion is carried. Financial assistance report. This is page 54 to 55. It's from Papua Māori.
Yeah, approved.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
To feed the people.
It was
Amazing. I second reason.
We need it.
Okay, Kapai, great application. Also great, the application works. Like what I've thought about when the way it was being written is exactly the kind of information the Māori to express back to us is that, you know, this is about Manaaki Tanga. So our ability to Manaaki well.
Sounds
Kapai,
beautiful.
like
Yeah.
this, very nice. Yeah, Kapai. So the amount asked for is 9,071, correct? The Kuti has 9,000 in it. Okay.
We will take some from the other part.
So what's everyone thinking about the grant application for Papua Māori?
Aye. Total vote.
It's a place closer.
Yeah.
We get a dummy run on.
Yeah, toast and
Yeah.
do I have a motion to approve granting Papua the amount of 9,000 to contribute to the purchase of new kitchen equipment, dishwasher and toaster for the newly renovated Marae kitchen to be funded from the Marae Wawa Tāpō. Do I have a mover?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say no. The motion is carried. In terms of reference report, item 6.5.
Before we go into that, I think we were wanting to raise the issue around how we actually spend it. There were a couple of instances, I think, where we were retrospectively approving invoices So
Needs to come
I think we're going to discuss that.
I think that's on.
In the
on-
chair-
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Struck by that.
You know, I was off, don't worry.
Are there any questions or clarifications you would like to ask on the terms of reference? So every set of trusts are currently listed as stakeholders. Does the committee want to consider adding representatives to the membership?
Yeah.
We're at the
Terms of reference.
separate.
So every settlement trust, yeah, this is the question, do we want to have Tumaira and
Oh, Tamaki Muriato, Treaty Settlement Trust.
do we want to have them on our terms of reference as well?
So before you even go there, wasn't there another letter that's come in today that was specifically around the terms of reference? So do we,
Oh, do we do those together?
just because it relates to the same issue, so I wonder,
One was Papua that just arrived this afternoon.
because it's raising some concerns around the terms of reference.
Oh, Gillies, would you like to speak to that?
Oh, yeah, I'll look, I can speak to it. So we were asked to table at this meeting. I guess just table it. I wasn't at the meeting when they discussed this letter. So just sort of put that out there. But I guess the genesis behind this letter was based around, it came through from, it was initiated from the iwi Chairs meeting letter, which gave impetus to this. It was also around the Māori ward issue, which caused a lot of discussion in the trustees. This letter did not have consensus, by the way, when it was produced and asked for us to table. There is a lot in here, I think, to absorb. I don't think the intent was to get a response to this letter tonight, but I would certainly urge you to take it away and go back to your own eye and discuss and maybe come up with some responses to this. But I think ultimately what this drives towards is asking ourselves, as a Māori Standing Committee, what is our ultimate purpose? Given that we have this discussion around Māori ward and what that represents, and Māori Standing Committee and what that represents. So I think, and that is why the letter is saying, let's put a hold on the terms of reference until such time as we've had a little bit more discussion around where we see this organisation going in particular. Because I think, and this is my own view, I think that this potentially has a better Māori representation as a model than the Māori ward might have. But that's up for further debate. And I think that's why I don't think it's possible to have a response to this letter tonight. And all I'm saying is take it away, absorb it, and then maybe come back and let's get together and really have a debate around the purpose of Māori Standing Committee and where it will sit in the future alongside council.
Yeah, and I thought it was an end.
Yeah, me too, and.
So you got even stronger representation, because you're hitting things at different levels.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just add something, because so as a relative newcomer, when I first joined, I was interested to understand the whakapapa of the terms of reference, and apparently this document has actually been underway for a significant period of time. So, and I think Papua maybe didn't have any representation for a period, so that they weren't necessarily involved in that corridor, but I understand there was someone else commissioned to do some work some years ago that was never done, and so this committee was in a situation where it actually had to go out and engaging well to do. That wasn't actually originally the agreement, was it? So I think that's important context, because again, the trustees obviously haven't had the benefit of the history behind this. Having said that, I think it makes sense given where we are the document still, you know, in draft. I don't have any issue in, you know, pushing it out and taking time to absorb both of these. Yeah, what does everyone else think? Yeah.
I agree. I just want to raise something here. I mean, this hasn't come about, you know, just offhandedly. There's been a number of other things, like you said, that have happened that have impacted why these conclusions have been put together. And I don't think it's just around the terms of reference. I think it's around relationships. I know it's around relationships and what that actually means, which is why as part of the terms of reference that have been here, it does, you know, in some view, as the iwi chairs, and I'm speaking on behalf of them, except for Kamaniki Wairarapa, KKW.
And the settlement trust.
Yes. Yes, I am, because he signed this letter.
He signed that letter to support the wards, the Māori wards.
No, he supported this letter, which I'm about to inform you about. This letter is to inform that effective immediately, Kohanui Marae, Rangitani o Wairarapa, and Rangitani Tūmaira, and future PSG for Kahunuki Wairarapa Tāmaki Nui Arua Settlement Trust will be withdrawing from the Māori Standing Committee. Now, this hasn't come about, and this letter has been signed by Robin, Michelle. Yes, it has, definitely, with his endorsement. And this has not become just a thing against the Māori Standing Committee. The door is actually is still open regarding the relationship. It's absolutely still open regarding the relationship.
What I take exception to is that we're getting information, you know, that's just been landed on us without any knowledge, without any discussions with this committee. And so, you know, like, for me, tikanga is you come kanohi ki te kanohi, whoever's signed that piece of paper, and don't bring a māngai to come and takahi on this committee. You know, this is what I'm facing.
Yeah, she's totally right.
This is right.
This is right. Feeling that this approach.
So I'm just saying this, that this is what I've been put forward to discuss, and this letter, I'm happy to send this letter.
And why are we having phones on?
We're not allowed to.
No.
I haven't. I'm using my phone to read this.
That's why I'm wondering why there's a phone like it's been recorded.
Because, Andrea, I've had mine article with a phone here, and then I've got letters that they're not allowed, they can come in here, but they're not allowed a voice.
That is a breach of ethics, doing that. A breach of ethics. You cannot record people without their consent. It's not okay.
I will send this letter through to
that's the process.
And
We haven't received it yet. It's not formally been received. I mean, reading out something is not, it's not on the agenda. It's just.
It's actually, it discusses the.
But this is not appropriate. The whole approach we're taking here is utterly unprofessional, I have to say. Very disappointing. We've already been stomped on, and now this is just not the way things should be done. This is not collaborative. This is not manakitanga.
I will just say this. We will be sending that letter through to the committee.
Please. And formally address it that way.
And it was not meant to be a breach of anything. If anything that's come out of this, are we still treating tikanga and kawa and everything else that goes with, especially the mana of tikanga Māori?
And I was going to discuss those terms of reference and those points as part of that letter. And you know what? It actually is detailed within the Papua letter, those points. Why, and that's why I will send you the letter. But officially, Rangitani o Wairarapa, Rangitani Tūmaira, and Ngāti Pangunui, Ki Wairarapa Tāmaki Nui Arua Settlement Trust, and Kohanui Marae have withdrawn from the Māori Standing Committee as of today, effective today. And whilst I say that, until we can negotiate around these terms of references adequately with engagement. So this is why it's probably indicative of what we can do to have a engagement framework developed that can help us all. I am not saying that the door is closed. I'm just saying that we need an opportunity to discuss this out frank. And yes, you're right, have the rest of the iwi chairs here. But I was not put here to just endorse this letter. They asked and they trusted that I would deliver it to you. I will email it through to you. It's paitena, and I do not want to takahi on you, but there needs to be.
Could I request that you send one to the Settlement Trust office as well, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, information has gone to Robin direct about all of this, and some of those points that have gotten into the Papawai letter has been discussed. So regretfully, I will say this, there is still the opportunity for us to work together.
It's unfortunate, can I just add, it's unfortunate because we actually had pulled together a letter that we had prepared, but because we didn't get consensus to send that letter, we had a letter responding to all those points. And actually it was an opportunity to invite a kōrero on a very constructive way, but we didn't get the opportunity because we didn't have consensus. We were hoping tonight to be able to agree to that. We spent weekends, several weekends ago, putting out, aroha, the story that you've reflected part of the story, but there's another part of the story that we would have liked to have had the opportunity to share. And what's a little bit upsetting is that we've not even had the opportunity because actually we didn't have everyone signed on this. So perhaps what we could do, maybe, it feels like the horse is bolted, but we should probably also for the record send through our letter so you could see that we were acting in a way that reflects all of our values, but that we couldn't send it because we didn't yet have all of the people agreed. And that would have happened tonight. So I guess it's just unfortunate that you didn't have that.
Yeah.
And I think we are the same in regard we want to have
the construct. You would see that from the letter. That was the intent of the letter.
I'll look forward to the letter.
Cool.
So
Holy moly.
I don't even know what to say.
Oh, no, look, I think it's, we just carry on what we're doing.
We need to send our letter though.
Yeah.
So we need to send that as an action.
Just stay focused on what it is that we need to do.
I'm interested in your comment about the discussion about Māori, precipitating some of this discussion. And one of the sad things is we have prepared a very full paper trying to explain the reasoning and what and part of the difficulty is that this has been litigated in a way that the law actually changed the law, never actually contemplated.
Yeah.
So and that's one of the problems that people have jumped to a position that actually without the understanding of actually what
we were struggling
what
with.
was going on. And so that's a real difficulty. So there is this trying to achieve understanding, but it does feel
That's in here.
Yeah,
No, that's
it's in
in
there,
here.
and I read that, Harry, and I thought that was a very good paper. It certainly gave me comfort that you guys have been trying. And it also gave me some perspective on the issues and the problems and the challenges that you guys face dealing with us Māori. Because we all have something to say. And you can't come to a decision overnight. So, and I also understand that the latest legislation coming from Naya, that put a spanner in the works. But what it has prompted us to do is maybe throw a little bit more impetus behind the Māori ward thing. I call it a concept. I don't like the term Māori ward because I personally don't think it fits us. It's not totally representative of us, and that's why I'm supporting the Māori Standing Committee because the model that it presents it is a fairer way of representing us.
Yeah, I mean, like going, we've got we're agreeing to a full governance review. A lot of these issues can be discussed and sounded out to make sure that they're representing you. But what I want to say is thank you for this letter, because it really raises and finally some of the issues that we do need to confront. And I read it, and then I read it again, and then I was like, at last, getting down to the secrecy of what, you know,
So
engaging with.
my comment was about, unfortunately, a lot of debates occurring on
Well, no, and what I find interesting is this whole fixation with an informed conversation. That's what I was talking about. The Māori ward is exactly the same. We actually don't have enough information, and part of what we're comfortable with is to take our time, because we need to do the right thing, and that takes time.
And I've noted, what I was trying to say, keep losing my track, is that, you know, the door is still open for us to go there, but it's not reciprocated back this way. It's like it's on their terms this way, but we can still go through that door.
Yeah, but I reckon don't worry about that.
No, we'll just move
We'll
through this.
just move on.
Yeah.
And we'll keep the door open.
Yeah, we
And I
that's
think-
what we said, wasn't it? It was always our
So,
intent.
so that, I mean, the best thing is to get everyone into a room and start actually really talking. And that's not just the Māori Standing Committee by itself, it's with council.
Yeah.
Which is what.
And we need to, like, this is where it's really, really important that engaging well gets moved, like gets
Yeah,
gets
we
put
need to
on
put a-
and gets into the council, because this is something else that they will work with.
Yes.
So,
It's
so
ammunition.
it's
It's
really,
ammunition,
it's
isn't it?
because they're doing cultural audit, and it's just, you know, all of those things are going to help moving forward as we go, especially with like the governance review as well. Like, so to be able to get him into council as soon as possible, when, to start moving.
You need to do that, yes, but that's not going to solve this issue.
No,
No, it's not, it's not, but what I'm saying is that,
Parallel process.
yes, but
Sooner see is our role in phase one rollout and some of those things in place. And so that when he actually writes a report that
that's why, yes, we need,
because this has been achieved, this is in place, this is going to be the outcome.
but we've already started that, and that, that's where he needs to come in, he needs to come in.
You know what's
That's good though.
You know what would be a real bold move and courageous move by council, and that would be to give this entity, whatever we end up coming up with, a vote on council.
You get into real legislative problems under the Local Government Act with regards to representation through an election as opposed to appointment. It's really, we've got to be very careful. But we can discuss that.
Yeah, well, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's.
Because
And it's
if
how it looks.
Māori wards are going to be on the same level as a councillor, then why shouldn't this committee here be on the same level?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it comes down to those elections.
We're not going to solve that one today.
No, but, and this is really good talk, and putting forward some of these concepts, I think, is, you know, like all of these just need to kind of be there as we talk about Māori wards and what Māori, like, what town Māori looks like that South Waiata District Council.
The journey we want to go on, and we all want to go on, is that the Māori ward will only get one voice for one person in an electorate, and the obligations to give effect to the wider.
Well, that's for the Māori ward, but the same as all of us.
So, you know, so they sign the same declaration to
That's right.
districts. You know, so it is not the answer to.
No, the and. Most of us think and.
So we're going to do both. We've got to do
And.
You guys have planned on.
Yeah, we continue to do
So
that.
I just think the best thing we can do now is maybe I don't know, I'd like to move that, maybe we just park the terms of reference.
Yeah.
And then move on to the next.
We need confirmation because it negates a discussion regarding the settlement trusts having a place at the table.
Yeah. Oh, true. Well, they've just said that.
They don't want.
But we need clarification
They're not.
Yeah.
because we actually.
And I think we're better to take this out.
Yeah.
You do that aside from the terms of reference.
Well, I think we're better to take these out.
Yeah, I agree.
But we need to do that next time.
Yeah.
So we're parking.
You know,
Just one last point on this from me. is, I feel a little bit hung out to dry around timeframes, not knowing that, like with the Māori board discussing that there was actually a time frame of the 21st of May. I found that out from Tito at Huia Iwi the weekend before. And then it's kind of like the MOU with Wakamoiko, like someone outside of us
Has more information.
really is, you have more information. And that's just an area that I really want to make that we close that gap, because that leaves us vulnerable.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, Henry.
I don't expect any feedback from it.
Peter, like, I know you're thinking we can take around and absorb it, but what sort of response does it require from us?
I think we need to just
Take it.
take away. So in the term, in the context of the terms of
I
reference.
think we need to send your.
Well, I think, yeah, that's the first thing. We sent our letter.
But both are suggesting meeting. And that's.
Yeah.
It's tabled, it's a public document now. And I think it'd be very good for me to advise the councillors to go on to Stella and look at that public document and read the letter. And look at the way, the Māori Standing Committee minutes.
Do you raise a resolution to defer the terms of reference?
No, I think by saying that we have tabled this for consideration. The members are going to take it away and consider. We will table, we will hold on the terms of reference.
That's
until such time as we consider further discussions, something.
So raise a resolution to defer the terms of reference. Do you want to move the motion?
While we.
Well,
Just to hold it for the next meeting, Steve? Okay.
someone to move the motion that we hold this until the next meeting, defer to the next meeting.
Yeah, I
It's 8 weeks away, isn't it? Yeah.
Seconder?
Yep.
Oh, we.
Where do we get to?
Chairperson's report, pages 56 to 82.
Okay, so this is the one I think Gillies was mentioning, but is this the one on the amounts, the cultural, that page 55, 56? So the main point, I've got a question really, is it approving or ratifying? Because this is after the fact. Aren't we reimbursing or something?
Oh,
Yeah, so I wonder, just because approve kind of implies it hasn't yet been done. I mean, what I've usually seen in minutes is we're ratifying something which demonstrates that we raised.
Yes, you
Is that right?
Yeah.
We have had this before with regards to footwear. But I'm pretty sure we are able to ratify in this committee.
Yeah.
So someone to accept the, receive the chairperson's report, please. Michelle, someone to second.
Aye.
Andrea, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, please say no. Motion is carried. Okay, so you're quite right, it is ratify spending of 1303. Sorry, not my best way of doing things. So yeah, when we set up the budget, allocated X amount of dollars towards cultural monitoring, knowing that Koranui and Waitemōkai we're going to start cultural monitoring. I am writing a report for the committee as well. Waitemōkai are doing water monitoring as well as Mahinga Kai is another measure, so we'll be doing.
So just so I'm clear, so are you saying that the budget and those POs have been approved for expenditure already, and all we're doing when you come up with the detail is that we just ratify it?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
No, because
Theoretically, the spending shouldn't occur until after you've approved it.
Yeah, correct. Well, that's what I think we need to be very careful about how we retrospectively.
And so the committee's learning, and so the committee's learning, so so this shouldn't occur again. It has happened.
And isn't it also, I think I signaled this in an email, is that, it's probably like the induction, so there's a lot of newbies.
Yeah.
But there's processes that I would have thought we can leverage from the council. So in terms of the process, I don't even think, and we shouldn't assume people know, right? So not even,
And
I
that's
don't,
exactly right.
yeah, so I don't think Narita knew that you should normally get like free, or we have policies around, you know, we
Procurement.
procurement.
I'd like the council to be our procurement.
So I think we can't just rely on our chair to be doing this. We need to support the chair somehow.
I was running around all over Mars and hunting and fishing, might attend, blah, 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 blah. That's Kohanui delivered. I won't even think.
So I guess is that an action? How might we, is that part of our broader induction?
Yeah,
Is
I mean,
it-
see, you look at our code up in here, we have got a section there and it's funding towards induction. Someone to do an induction pack for us because we haven't got one. We have never had one. And I know we need it.
And what are the relevant
Something
policies that we would
outside,
need to
isn't it?
know as the money?
That's where things going there as
Other
well.
than that's-
It's, you know, once we get our person in place, it's one of
They can
those
help us
things.
with that.
Yeah.
Those things.
You have
They are
yourself as a resource for any
True.
clarification.
Yeah.
On that, but it's an issue that you raise as well in your letter regarding inductions.
Yeah.
And a lot more spatial knowledge of what's going on with the minute.
So, yeah, so one for that, I've actually already been reduced, but I know the process, so if we're going to do any expenditure, even if it's been allocated in the budget, I still want to let you guys know that this is what I need to spend to cover X.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That
So
seems-
it brings me to item number 3, to approve $950 for bike links to be funded from the funds set aside in the cultural monitoring programs under Te Aho. So I'm asking for approval to spend up to $950 for bike links. Has already been spent. I need to have a ride check later. Seconded to approve the $950, maximum of $950 for bike nets. Does everybody know what bike nets are?
Is that a picture there?
It's ones with catching tuna. So they come in 5 different compartments and usually have a weight on them. And
Minihina.
yeah, but the fancy one, called bike net, and it's a little zip pouch where you pour in the cat food. And then it catches little woolies and things like that, so you can have a look at fish species and be anyway. So Pajamuka doing it, Kohanui are doing 2 rivers, I think, out their way. But Papua wanted to do something, or Hawariki wanted to do something. You know, there is funding into Te Aho.
So just thinking about that, why don't we just come up with some policy around anything under $1,000 and you want to spend something, you go ahead and do that, and then you wrap that at the meeting, but anything beyond $1,000, it needs, you know, everybody's consent rather than every little item you have to go and get bloody approval for.
I think prefer to come up with it all, you know, do all the future thing for us.
Actually, we'll have something to do with purchase orders, so, what we do internally is, like, flowers for someone,
Yeah.
sign off purchase order, and then someone goes and buys it. But it's pre-approved, so really that purchase order, fresh off the people, it's the same as everyone else.
Yeah, if you want to do it that way.
Yeah,
That's easy.
I think let's make it easy.
That's really easy.
What's that?
Then it's just- it's a purchase order and it's
Yeah.
pre-approved, and that's fine with any.
So
Yeah.
why anything is the committee, we still need to sort of agree to it, and then I see
Yeah.
purchase order from council.
Yes,
and then
nice.
go and do it.
Yes,
And then council
easy.
pay for it.
Yeah.
So then delegate authority, how agile is that though? I mean, do you have suppliers set up for purchase orders, or can you send a purchase order to anybody?
Which anyone.
Nice,
Yeah.
that's flexible.
Yeah, as long as like, yeah. They're gonna have dental lists. and all that kind
Yeah, I
of
don't
stuff.
think we have to set up accounts too, it's not that laborious.
I don't think we decided that we will operate through purchase
Yeah.
orders.
It's a good way for like cost.
Yeah.
Cost, right?
Harry.
Is there a-
Yes, there's 2 different conversations.
Yeah. Really, it's
But
like
to-
it's not delegation.
Yeah, what is it in the council?
Within the council,
Like the
it's
various-
going to follow your delegation.
Yeah, I'm saying just,
Use their process.
council's, policy.
Yeah, perfect. And it makes it easy.
Yes, there's no what.
But I think you've got to put a dollar value in there
Well, that's
because,
what I'm saying, but if
Yeah,
you
follow your policies.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Whatever you guys do.
Yeah, we'll just follow that.
but our delegations policy runs to about 7 pages, depending on the type and the person and the, it's not one size fits.
It probably makes it easier if you stick to a normal
No, but-
process.
Because you're half $500,000. You're 1,000.
Pip and I, nothing.
Yeah.
So next, you asking us for.
Talking about lives, isn't it?
Well, you can set a limit, you set a limit of five.
I'd set a limit of 500. It's
500.
sustainable.
Yeah.
We can't go mad with it.
Any one item.
And you change it if we feel it's not.
Yeah, okay.
That's right.
How's that? Is that all right?
Yep.
Steve?
That's subject to confirmation. This is all.
Okay.
But I'm glad we had this discussion though, because it's better to actually get it all laid out, so that way we all know. Like,
I totally agree. It makes it easier for everyone.
Want to avoid any.
Oh, sorry, okay.
The last ones.
I'll second on the point. Thank you, Karen. And then the ratifying of 138. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, please say no. And then item number 2 is that we say is ratified 1303 for equipment for cultural monitoring. Someone to move that item number 2?
Yep.
Seconded, please.
Aye. Mate, Tony.
Got it, Tony. Yeah, Tony. Okay.
Confirmation from finance.
Delegate approval of chair expenditure up to $500 subject to confirmation from finance. Thank you. Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say aye. That's it. Accepted.
And topic.
2 dark, oh, that was another one. Dark skies, Friday, Tuesday, April, Bernie Martin. And that we had an invoice of $320.47. And I did get a tally one. Yeah.
I get that all the time.
So do I have move it to, where is this? Do we have someone to move the approved 32347 for hosting Professor Honey Martin?
I'm a bit
And do I have a seconder?
with every cent.
All those in favour?
Absolutely fantastic.
Aye. Those against, please say no. The motion is carried.
He was amazing.
Amazing.
He was amazing.
So inspiring.
So amazing.
Yes, and here. So,
So perhaps, look, I'll talk to this. And I take your point, Andrea, but sometimes it's, but also, we can signify, so this is coming up 2 days before the end of everything. But the main reason is, there's a lot of, and I hate to use the term deliberate misinformation about what this actually is and what's not. Okay, unfortunately, which is not helpful this at all. So there are 2 things at play. One is councils are obliged to do representation reviews, and that considers a full range of Māori wards, the number of councillors around certain numbers, and the balance of constituency. The principle in representation to do with Māori wards is there needs to be a balance of numbers voting for certain locations. So you have to have essentially equal numbers. So it means you have to rejig your constituencies. So consistency of view not only thinks about Māori ward, thinks about the number of councillors, who they represent. So for instance, if you talk this area, one of the things we don't have is rural wards. We have people, and a lot of people in a rural area, we have rural ward. We have to consider the place of community boards. And so representation review is a big thing. It's, and a Māori ward is one factor in that. Okay, so council said we want to do this, and we want to do this properly, and we want to go and consult fully with the, because it's not just a matter of talking to our iwi partners, it's a matter of getting council as obliged under the Government Act to be able to understand the views of its full community. And that's its legal obligation. Anything we do, we have to listen without a predetermined view to all the views of the community, right? And every decision making we make is significant, and this is significant. Now, okay, so that was the context. So council in 2020 said, okay, we want to do that, and we want to do that this year, started this year, which is actually what we're doing. Okay. So that was the council's decision, was to do a representation review and do it properly, which would, in the context of that, would consider Māori.
Yeah.
So that was the, and actually I would say.
And that's an independent review?
No, it's not. It's a council, the decision making is made by council resolution. Now the problem was before that, before 2020, before the electoral act, council can make a resolution to establish a Māori board, and then we have to go and have a poll. And the
Only
public,
5%.
a very small number of it, 5%,
5%.
say no, they don't want
Yeah.
this to happen. I mean, even if council wanted to, they were passionate to it, they could not do it. Or before council even decided to want to put a Māori board, people could walk in and a poll could gazump any council decision making on a Māori board full stop. Okay, so what happened is the minister said it is patently unfair and it's jurisdictionally inconsistent with every other form of representation that a council makes. So every other representation decision is made by a council resolution, not requiring a public poll. Yes, you have to consult, but you consult to the point that you are making a decision based on what the views of the community are. Doesn't mean the public are voting. So what Lanaya did was took out the ability in the law for a requirement of the law to happen. Now, and if you look in our report, we quote Hansard's. Okay, so we went back and say, why did, okay, so they put in transitional arrangements, which said from the state of enactment, which was March, to this period of May, there is a transition period, and it's all to do with polling. It's all to do with the polling provisions. So it was not for council to suddenly go and make a quick decision between March and May, whether they want to establish a Māori board. It's never the intention of the legislation at all. And it was originally done actually because there were 4 councils who were going to have to pay to do a poll. And so the initial Hansard discussion was saying, okay, we'll take that out and then we'll pay for it. Don't have to do a poll. So it was about getting rid of that. It also meant the councils where a poll had resulted, even though done good work, where a poll had resulted in the decision to establish a Māori board being overturned by taking that transitional provision that the council could now make that decision without doing a thing. So all the transitional provisions between May and March were simply to do with the polling provisions. They were not, and I'll repeat, not to replace local government's constitutional responsibility to consult all of its constituents. And for all the reasons that are cited in the paper, which are much wider, because it's much wider than simply to establish the Māori. Okay, so that's why we really put this out so people who do read it can actually get an understanding. Because the popular view has been that the government mandated the ability of the council to go and make a quick decision to establish a Māori board. There's nowhere in the legislation, the preamble, if anything that I read that says that was the case with intention at all. So that's what the background is. Okay, and as I said, we've quoted from Hansard's, so it's not just my opinion. That kind of stuff. This is what from the Hansard's recording of the face of the house. Right. So this is what Lanaya stood up and said. This is the reason for transitional provision. Okay, so any questions on that one?
Well, I'd just like to put on record that make an apology for the protest that happened in Martinborough. I don't think it was the right thing to do. It certainly wasn't indicative of all of Māori to protest that day. It came to me as a bit of a surprise. But to actually walk into your office and demand something was not the right thing to do. So yeah, my final opinion, apologise.
Thank you.
Ka pai whānau. So do I have a mover to approve the Māori Standing Committee letter of response to iwi as presented on page 64 of the agenda? Mover.
So what was our view on consensus? So it was just like who signs it, right? Because I think the issue was is we didn't have everyone, but I think we just need to identify that in our.
That's right, we didn't have consensus from everyone to send the letter, so we didn't out of respect. But now we've got to this point and the entities probably need to see our letter.
Yeah.
And so we can now put it to a vote. As
A vote, yeah, a vote.
So we have a mover to accept the letter of response. Thank you, Tony. A seconder, please. Please. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Please say aye. The motion is carried. So could you send that for us, please, to the board?
Can I say that to agree with it?
Oh,
I thought it was a very good letter.
well, we.
Yes, I can see there was a lot of heartache that went into that one.
Yeah.
So do we think it's worthwhile, because it's dated the date that we, because it does precede the letter. I think that's important, that they know.
Yeah, it was here, we've done this. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, well, I'm saying that, you know, we wanted to send this sooner, so it's just because there's a crossing of letters, but ours was actually showing our intent.
Just
Except I think Tony, because this is on the public record of this
It
meeting.
has to be today.
And no, but you haven't actually got the other list yet. This definitely proves that you've done this before you received.
Oh, true, true.
Because this went out in the public arena last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so even
When this
though
letter
we
attached to
weren't
this
able to
draft.
send it, it was because it was in our papers.
It became public.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like-
Can we just-
A week old already, if you like.
Okay, there's some spelling errors. So there's small things, so no, it's just small things, but Māori should always have a capital M. So
No.
I think it should when it's like for Māori wards, because you've used it in other parts, saying Māori wards with a capital M, and then it's not in others. And we just don't want to make a wrong, you know, like we don't want to do that wrong. So I think we need to always make sure that when we're talking, when we talk about Māori, I think
Always get a capital. Yeah, but it's not consistent. When you-
it's yeah, where it's sometimes in it, then it's not, it's yeah, so here, to bring the discussion of Māori wards to our table. So I did this for quite a few years as a job, so that's why I literally, I've taken over from Margaret Craig. Yeah, so the school teacher.
No, there's a macron over the O in Māori instead of the A.
Oh, no, where's that?
Someone send us an edited.
Sentence.
Yeah. There, it needs to go, and
How many eyes at this?
We will not send it out until we get approval.
Is it the only one? Is it two? Is it?
Do you want to just copy and paste it and do some corrections in the thread? Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Just
right.
because like although it may have appeared that MSC showed an inability, it's like, although you shouldn't even have a comma after it, doesn't even make sense.
Okay.
It's with you.
Okay, Phil.
That's going to do the editing.
Good channel.
Okay.
Do you want to do some edits and then fire it through the stem? And then I can copy you.
Don't change the date.
Yeah,
That's funny.
and then I'll
Funny.
sign it in the office. Is that all right? Right. We're up to. In the report, what does she want to talk to us about?
That was
The letter on
that
the
was-
phone.
Wow. That was
Holy moly.
Should we adjourn the meeting then have that discussion?
Yeah, let's
Yes,
adjourn.
let's close the meeting off.
I shouldn't also.
No, that's our meeting closed. We'll just close the cut of care as well.
All right.